Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. This is episode 12, and I'm, of course, your host, Brett Dupree, who just messed up his intro once again. But that is life. There's no 3 takes, even though you didn't hear the first take. But that is okay. Today, there is no interview. Not because I don't have. I still have 2 in the pipe, even though it's been slow getting them. Combination of scheduling issues and having people not follow through, and myself not following through as much as I like and being busy. I have been so busy, at least for me, has made editing and creating these podcasts feel like they just take so much of my time that I don't necessarily have. And that part of that is because of something named Toastmasters. And I decided to make this a Toastmaster podcast. A podcast where I talk about one of my recent accomplishments in Toastmasters that makes me feel very, very proud. Last podcast, if you listen to it, I vented out a lot of my frustrations, my personal ones. As I say many times, my head generally goes negative. That's just the way my brain is. It's not wired that way. When I was a kid, I wasn't negative. It was more of a defense mechanism that I developed because there's this one part about life where you think to yourself, especially when you're a child, or at least when I was a child, that if I go negative, then I can protect myself. But of course, the older I get, the more I know that is not true. That is just another way to not deal with the situation. Because honestly, just deal with it. Feeling bad about it just makes it so I can't enjoy the current situation that I am in and not dealing with those things. Anyway, my last podcast I felt was a little too negative. And so I want to talk about a recent accomplishment that's still under a week old that I'm very proud of and very happy from. In fact, I'm still kind of buzzing from it. I am so happy that I've reached there. It's a great accomplishment. The accomplishment is I have reached the number to charter in my Lightworker Toastmasters Club. For the people who don't know, Toastmasters is an organization where we work on public speaking and leadership. It's generally broken down into 3 categories. Each meeting has 3 sections. One section is table topics, where we get up and do like a 1 to 2 minute speech based off a question that is asked. This is to work on improvisational. I don't know why I have trouble saying improvisational speaking. I even messed that up on the big stage. I spoke with 300 people and messed up that word. That's ridiculous. Your impromptu speaking, the ability to think on your feet. Plus, it gives everybody a chance to participate. The next part of Toastmasters is the part where most people think, which is the prepared speeches. This is where people prepare a speech beforehand and give a speech to work on their ability to write and perform a speech. You know, one thing that surprised me at Toastmasters is how much better you get with writing, because I think of Toastmasters as giving speeches, but the reality is you don't give other people speeches. You give your own speeches, meaning that Toastmasters helps your writing. If it wasn't for Toastmasters, if you read my book, it would not be as interesting. And the book I'm writing now is going to be way better because of Toastmasters. And the third part about Toastmasters is evaluations. Yes, once you speak, you get a 2 to 3 minute speech on your speech, which is an evaluation. And the beauty of evaluations is evaluator is working on their own ability to speak. Not only are you serving the person that you're evaluating, you're serving yourself, because the way you look at it, you look for good positives, you look for things to improve, and you stretch yourself. And it's a wonderful organization that I've been a part of for 8 years. And I'm recently going for what's called my DTM, the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. I don't necessarily feel like I need to go into the entirety of what goes into it, but one thing I need to do is be a part of help a club. And there's 3 ways to help a club. First, you sponsor a club, meaning that you sponsor it, getting 20 people to want to join up and you're a sponsor. Or you mentor a club, which you take a new club and you mentor it for 6 months. Or you coach a club, and that's where you take a club that's struggling and you help them become what we like to call distinguished, which is it's too much to really go into. But just say you have to take a club that's struggling and make them so they're no longer struggling anymore. And what I decided to do was sponsor a club, meaning that I decided to take a club and create one. There's two ways of sponsoring. There's the creating one, or there's getting lucky and somebody's company wants to start a club and you just go there and show up and do a couple demo meetings and all of a sudden 20-something people join and bam, you sponsored a club, and all in a day. But that's not the way I wanted to do it, because primarily I wanted to create a club of my own. A club that I've been thinking about for a long time, for at least 2 to 3 years. Once I learned about DTM, and I thought if I ever did DTM and start my own club, or just wanting to start my own club, I wanted to start a club of, Lightworkers is what I ended up calling it. My first thought was New Age Hippie Club. But the idea was to get people who want to make the world a better place, bring light into the darkness, Reiki practitioners, people who work with crystals, tarot card readers, psychics, essential oil, Reiki practitioner, yoga, people who talk about metaphysics, and get them into a place where they can feel safe. Because one thing I noticed, is even just personal development, there's a stigma on it for a lot of people, or especially when you're first starting out and you don't want to sound all woo-woo and weird, and you don't feel like you want to be judged. Because I've talked to a couple people we have something in Washington called Bastyr University, and that's where a lot of these people go for certain degrees in naturopathy and things of that nature. And talking to them, they kind of ask for permission. I even had one person who thanked me in particular in our club because she felt that I gave her permission to talk about her career as a coach, because that's all I talk about, because that's what interests me. I mean, that's why I got into Toastmasters. So I decided to start my own club. I know this is a long way to probably haven't really captured your attention yet, but I think there's a lot of good lessons that I learned in doing so to start this club. And I just decided it'd be a fun thing to talk about for the next 30 to 40 minutes. I think I can go. I should be able to do that. I mean, yeah. Well, it all started in April is when I finally got started. I decided that I was going to start my own club. I was done in my, contest season, and I was becoming a district officer. And that's one of the other things you need to do to get your distinguished Toastmaster, you have to serve the district. And so I thought to myself, well, I better get started in sponsoring a club, because that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time, because honestly, sponsoring a club is difficult unless you already have people. I was starting with myself. To sponsor a new club, a community club, which is what this is, you need 20 people, and only 3 can be current Toastmasters. Meaning I have to find 17 inactive Toastmasters, either people who used to be in Toastmasters or not anymore, or people who are never been in Toastmasters to join. And that is not easy. It's one thing you need to do in a club to get one of those distinguished points, is a series of points, is you need to get 8 new people every year. Generally speaking, for a Toastmaster club, the idea is you need 20. And the reason why you need 8 new people every year is you're probably going to lose about 8 people every year. And it's not because people don't like Toastmasters. Generally, when you join Toastmasters and you make a commitment, you learn a few things. For instance, Toastmasters is pretty fun. You start becoming pretty close to the people. They become either friends or sometimes even feel kind of close friends, a family. I mean, you meet people weekly for a long time. But people move, or they reach their goals. Some people just want to feel comfortable speaking and they don't want to dedicate their time because they have a lot of other things they want to do. So moving and people reaching a certain threshold of no longer being afraid. And there are a few people who don't like it, but most people, I think, fall into the first 2 buckets. You need a good cycle of people. And getting 8 people to join a club a year, an already solid club that's going forward, is hard. I mean, I've been a part of it, and a lot of the clubs have failed. I mean, sometimes you're part of my home club, which is the Kirkland Eclectics, does a really good job of that, because it's just a solid club that when people visit, they generally join because it's just well established. But I was starting from scratch. I had nothing, literally nothing, other than my experience as a Toastmaster. I made 2 decisions early. Number 1, I was gonna find a co-sponsor. And number 2, until this club got going, I was going to invite Toastmasters to come in and be guest speakers, because I didn't want to speak every week, because that's what I imagined would happen if I didn't get guest speakers. I would speak every week. But the first thing I needed to do was find a venue. And that wasn't fun, emailing out venues, because there's two things you need to make a Toastmaster venue. You need a place with a lot of chairs and it being cheap or free. So a place that could seat 20 or so people and not charge. Woo! So trying churches and other places. Try to get there's a place in Seattle called East West Bookstore. They just did not understand. They thought it was an intriguing idea, which is too bad because I still think that would have been perfect. I don't think they understand the opportunity that they had, because honestly speaking, I would be bringing in I would be paying to advertise for them, especially on a Tuesday evening where they probably don't have lots of people, and be constant. It would have been great. It would have been a great, anyway. But I ended up not getting that. Ended up getting Merrill Gardens at University, which has been amazing. They have been so nice and kind. All the residents have enjoyed just seeing people come in and smiling at them. And they've been wonderful. So finding that place was great. I remember when I got the email, the Merrill Gardens in Kirkland is where my home club meets. So I had Hope, and she worked there for a year, so she knew about it, which made it easy. So I didn't have to explain exactly what Toastmasters is. I met them, and they were very welcoming. It was easy. It was exciting. They just had to get a couple, check marks and ready to go. And then I believe it was May or June. I think it was June, because my first meeting was in July. So it was mid-May. It was mid-May when I got the place. And I decided that I wanted 2 months of advertising before the first meeting. Because honestly, I wanted the first meeting to be big. And because I didn't want there to be nobody. I was just with somebody who was trying to start their own club. And nobody showed up other than Toastmasters to help her out. And she was so frustrated by this, she ended up crying and she gave up trying to start her own club because she just wasn't getting any headway. Well, I think the first thing I did differently than her is I picked a group that I knew, an audience that I knew wanted to speak publicly. And public speaking was very important. If you want to make a difference in the world, being comfortable with public speaking is essential. But also, even if you are comfortable, being able to really connect with your audience, be able to have the foundation of skill so you can truly share your heart. That is special, my friends. That is very special to be able to do that. And so knowing that the audience was there, or at least I believed so, as someone who considers himself a light worker, just by the name, someone who sheds darkness in the light into darkness and is kind of on the spiritual side. My first thought was spiritual Toastmasters, but I thought that might not work. Yeah. So I took 2 months to advertise. The way I decided to advertise this was through Facebook ads. I made a $60 ad spend, so I wanted to do $30 a month for it, for that first meeting, which generated a good amount of buzz. I also hung flyers, which turned out to be a huge waste of time. One of the best things I did, though, was ask somebody for help. Someone who I knew was better on the administration side than me, or just assumed, because I'm a big picture person. I don't like crossing the T's or dotting the I's. As I mentioned in my last, I'm not a fan of that. I am a software tester by trade. That's what I do for my daily job, and that's pretty much dotting the I's and dashing the T's. And the fact that I don't like making the reports. I don't like filing the bug. That's practically the biggest disappointment I have when I find a bug is now I have to write a report about the bug. And I don't like doing that. Finding the bug is actually kind of fun, and going through is actually kind of fun. But man, doing the paperwork, I am not a paperwork person. That is just not my zone of brilliance and love, is just creating charts. Actually it is kind of fun creating cool charts. So I'm not saying I'm not a paperwork person, as I love data and statistics. But anyway, I found somebody who was really good at that. I wasn't really looking forward to making new member kits, and meeting Donna Stoltz, who is my co-sponsor, has really helped she make new member kits and helped promote the club in her own way, but making sure we always had something to give perspective people and to meet up with people. And yeah, it was great. So I advertised this club for about 2 months before the first meeting. I got 2 guest speakers. They were Krista Love, and Mark Perez. And I believe Anna Margalina spoke that time too. You don't know any... Oh, wait, you know Anna Margalina. She was one of my previous podcast interviewees. Or you could know her if you look at older episodes and listen to her. Mark Perez is going to be a future guest. Probably, I think he's the next one. He is great. He's like 19 years old and already a public speaker. He's outstanding. I'm so excited for him. To know him is to be very impressed by him. And I'd never heard him speak. And I thought that'd be a fun opportunity to listen to people that I wanted to hear. I knew Krista from going to Toastmaster events, but I never actually got to hear her speak. So I got 2 speakers, or did I get 3? I'm trying to remember if Anna spoke that one or spoke the second one. I probably should have wrote that out. But the cool part was listening to them speak. So here's the first meeting where we have 2 guest speakers, and we got 19 people overall, including guest speakers. I don't think I counted Marcelo showed up. Marcelo is the public growth director. He showed up to that first meeting. And that meeting was as great as it was disappointing. It was hard. It was one of the most energetically draining experiences I've had. Number one is the buildup of having working and trying to get so many people there. And I had about over 70 something people on that Facebook invite. I had 20 something people say they're going. I had 40 something people saying that they're interested. So I thought there was a good chance, there was a small chance that would sponsor that night. I hoped, I wished, I prayed, I dreamed that it would sponsor, because I just didn't really want to put the work in, to be honest. Because it was a lot of work, and I knew it. And if I got it right away, then I wouldn't have to do it. Then I wouldn't have to continue, and then we can go to the fun part of creating the club. But nobody joined that day, which wasn't as hard. The harder part was nobody participated, other than Toastmasters. Well, a couple people participated. A couple people did table topics, but it was like pulling teeth. And there was this energy, this really nervous energy. I felt like I was banging on a wall of fear, and I had to hold this container, and through that feel excited the entire time, and feel love for everybody, and feel excited, and try to break through that and show them that Toastmasters can help them. Toastmasters can serve them. And I was just drained. I just went home and just went, ugh. If I had the ability to take a bath, because my apartment doesn't really set up for baths, that would have been a perfect time for an Epsom salt bath. And then it was kind of like that for the first 5 meetings. The first 5 meetings were very difficult for me, mostly because it was hard to get people to participate, people to buy in. Even though the second meeting, I believe we had 4 people sign up, which was exciting. I mean, people started to show up, people started to sign up. So I felt hope then, started feeling hope as more and more people signed up. And the cool part is starting the second and third, Donna was really good at talking to the people in her area, and she brought in 2 people. Their names are Tommy Price and Paulette Netters. I think that's their last name. I should have looked it up. I'm bad with names. But Paulette and Tommy have become our mentors. One's a coach and the other is a hypnotherapist. And that was really cool that they did that. Another person who joined that I'm really happy did is someone named Terry Thomas, who gave an amazing testimonial during that first meeting that she decided to join after that. She just needs to wait till next week, because she's somebody I knew from when I first started. We used to go to an intention circle together. If you read my book, I talk about the intention circle. And the testimonial she gave was, she knew me 10 years ago, and to see my growth, my confidence of being able to get up there was outstanding to her, and she wanted that. Which did make me proud, because honestly, that's actually one reason why I started my journey. I went to Warrior Sage, all because I saw someone stand up and talk in a way that was so free and without... I could just feel he didn't have fear of standing up and talking, and I thought, I wanted that. It was fun to be that for somebody. So that helped. In fact, getting that compliment from Terry, as well as the support from Toastmasters, who kept on telling me how well I was doing, bringing in 12 to 15 people who are new to Toastmasters, and yeah, that helped me not jump off the ledge and quit, because those first 5 meetings were so draining, and in between meetings was also draining. I don't like bothering people. There's a thing I hate about marketing. So everyone who was interested, I sent them a message saying I missed them and hope they can come to the next one. And I did that repeatedly, constantly. A few people, I believe, blocked me because or ignored my message request on Facebook. Because when I look at my message request, it says I can't talk to them anymore. Either that or they deleted their account, which they probably just blocked me. Some people ignored me, which was fine. I mean, it's better to be ignored than outright rejected. Unless you're dating, then rejection's much better. However, most people replied and were grateful. They're grateful that I kept on reaching out to them, which I still need to do a lot. So as we continue, we start building more and more membership. My goal was to do it by tomorrow, actually. I wanted to do it by October. So the last meeting was the meeting I wanted to be the meeting we got chartered. And we did it. We got 20 people. We ended up getting 19 people. 19 Toastmasters. One because Todd Cuddleback, he was a former district director, really helped sharing my vision with people something, and people who are also passionate about it. He helped bring in 2 members, as well as help encouraging another member to join, who was his podcast host, and he got his daughter to join and her boyfriend, which is awesome. Yeah, so building up. And the interesting part was, I honestly thought I had 6 people at the beginning. So I thought I only had to get 11 new people, because I had 6 people. When I told them my vision, I told them what I wanted to do. They said they were there, they were excited for me, and they wanted to be a part of it. Or some are even like, we can't wait for you to actually get started. And of all the people who joined, none of the people who joined were those people. Which is another disappointing part to deal with, is thinking you can count on certain people to follow through, and none of the people who I thought would follow through for me did, which was disappointing. It was disappointing. But I kept on pushing through, and I haven't given up on them yet. They should become a part of it, because this is awesome. It's a wonderful organization, and it's a wonderful club. One of my favorite meetings was the 28th meeting, which was the last podcast I did before this one, because that was my birthday. I turned 40 years old, and I spent it at Toastmasters. My ask was, of course, my ultimate gift was to become a member and sign a packet. But we had people bring cake, and it was a great time. It was so much fun. There's a picture. If you go to Meetup and look up Lightworker Toastmasters, you can see a picture from my birthday. Or on Facebook, you can also look up Lightworker Toastmasters, and you can still see a picture from my birthday. It was so much fun. And then, that's when we got close. We got to the point where we needed 7, and we had to get a month to do it. And so it was a lot of pushing, a lot of bothering, a lot of emailing, a lot of messaging people who haven't showed up. People saying they're excited, and then, oh no, we have to move. Or one of our people who showed up by bus. She took 2 hours to show up there by bus, but then she had to move to Guatemala. Which sucked, because she was great. She actually gave a speech, because until we become a normal club, might as well let people make speeches. But there it was last Tuesday. And that was the push. That was the day I wanted. That was my deadline. I created 2 carrots. One was a presentation from a TEDx speaker, which, to be honest, that was going to happen no matter what, because I wanted to hear her presentation. I guess the difference was that either that was going to be a celebration of charter or a swan song into the ending or last effort for the Lightworker Toastmasters. And then a free copy of my book. Another thing I did was I funneled everybody to a Facebook group and worked on doing everything there, doing Facebook Lives to help people get excited and show my excitement. If I think of what I did to help make this successful, and this is just the first step. I don't want to act like this is the end. My celebration of charter ends on tomorrow. It's my last day to truly celebrate, because the real work starts, which is forming the club and making it run, because it could fall apart in an instant. Yeah. But it was really cool on Tuesday, where we needed 3 people to join, to reach charter. So I reached out to 6 people who seemed very close to being ready to join, who are very interested, who told me that they're going to, or they're probably going to join. And I said, this is the date. We just need 3 people. It'd be amazing if you did. Of those 6 people, 5 showed up and joined, which brought us to 19 of the 17 that we needed. So we were 2 over. Even without Todd Cuddleback's help, we would have just been 1 away. know if Debbie would have joined if it wasn't for him. And not only that, we have 6 current Toastmasters who have also joined. 6. That is 25 members. That's a good amount for a club. And I'm excited. I am pumped. I think I might be sounding low on energy because I'm talking for 30 minutes. But I am pumped. I am still ecstatic. I just can feel the buzzing through my body of that day. That was so much fun, chartering and hugging and being so happy about this. And the people are amazing. I love my club. I love the Lightworker Toastmasters. They're such great, amazing people who want to make a difference in this world. And I'm very excited to watch them grow, to watch them become better at making an impact. Because that's what Toastmasters is really about, making an impact. But this is just the beginning. Reaching charter is almost like the first touchdown of a football game where you want to score first. It's the bare minimum we need to do to get the club started. But the thing is, it's hard to keep a club going. Both those are equally difficult. I briefly talked to this lady named Susan Swift about this, and she said the first 2 years is critical. So at least we'll be a member of the Lightworker Toastmasters for 2 years. Honestly, plan on being a member for as long as it makes sense, and that could be for the rest of my Toastmaster career, be a member of them and the Kirkland Eclectics. It'd be hard to give up the Kirkland Eclectics after I've been a member of them for so long. It's going to be a lot of work. But we had people step up as officers. We only have one missing, which is the public relations officer, which I don't know why, because I practically do that role anyway. And I'm probably going to do all the roles anyway. But yeah. So I'm very excited about the things I've learned. I was driving somebody home. Her name was Belle. And I was talking about how hard it was, because I had to set a container, a very safe container. And if you know, just that energetic feeling of cradling everybody every time I spoke. And luckily I had plenty of people also setting a container as well. The other Toastmasters who also helped as well. But I can just really talk about my own experience. And I always felt a big weight with every meeting. I don't want to be Toastmaster for any of my other clubs because it's just so much work getting the Lightworker Toastmasters up. It's not just a lot of work, it's a lot of energy, just physical energy. I just feel drained after every meeting. I just feel like, ugh. But I still remember that first meeting. Well, I talk about the first 5 meetings, but I believe it was a 6th meeting that was extra special to me. Because that was the meeting where, in table topics, everyone who participated was new. They were not Toastmasters. They'd never been Toastmasters. Well, one was, but he hasn't been Toastmaster for a while, so he still counts in my eyes. He wasn't somebody visiting. He wasn't Paulette or Tommy or me or Janice, the other experienced Toastmasters. Wasn't one of us or Donna. It was all new Toastmasters. And that's when I fully thought that, yes, this is going to work. Another thing I did that I forgot to mention was create Meetup. Meetup got pretty much a lot of members as well. About 6 members came from Meetup. 6 members came from Facebook ads. Yeah. But that was a momentous occasion. So here we are, getting what we need to be a Toastmaster club. So what I learned from this experience, as I was saying, I was driving this Belle home because she was joining and we had to make her fill out an application and she wanted to make sure she caught her bus. I'm like, well, if you sign this, I'll take you home. And she was like, okay. And I was like, cool. And I drove her home and I was feeling like a chatty Cathy because I wanted to talk about that because that was awesome. That was a great feeling. I was excited. I had this idea for years. I started working on it since April. It just worked out. This is one of the things that worked out better than anything I've ever done. I mean, I have this negative belief that nothing I ever do works because when I look at most of my things in my business ventures, none of them work. My podcast doesn't have a lot of listeners, and I still took a month break, which I promised myself I wouldn't, but I probably knew I shouldn't have promised myself. I'm running out of interviewees, even though I have plenty of people saying they're interested, but I just can't nail it down. My book didn't sell as much as I'd like. It did okay. It did average, which is bad. If you look at how bad books sell overall, unless you're one of the big people. I mean, they're great. I'm not disparaging my book. I'm mostly disparaging my ability to stay consistent. And when I look at anything I've done, I always feel like I have to justify it to make it me feel like I accomplished something. And this is the first thing I set out to do that was ridiculously hard, that I had to sell it to people, that worked out. And it worked out amazingly. The club's amazing. I am so happy that it worked out the way it did. All the members are people I like. They're great. There hasn't been any major hiccups other than it taking 10 meetings to reach charter, but that's averaging 2 members a meeting. That is fantastic for Toastmasters. And yeah, so things I have learned. So I was driving her home. I was telling her about especially how hard the first 5 meetings were for me. That was energetically draining. And then she asked me, do I feel different? And in a way I do. I felt this was an amazing growth opportunity. I grew a lot. And that's one of the benefits of Toastmasters. It's a nonprofit organization. By serving it, I grow. I grow as a person. I am better now than I was in April because I took on this venture. I got better at marketing. I understand marketing a little bit more. I feel better about bothering people. I feel better about going up to them and talking to them and what I think of bothering them. Of, this thing is awesome. I think you should be a part of it. It will help you. I truly believe in it. And continually doing that. And I learned about setting a container. I learned how much I love setting a container. Even though it was draining, I had a good time. I loved it. I am made for workshops. That's what I should be doing. I love it. Even if it drains me, I still wanted to do it. Even though, there's part of me who thought of quitting, but only thought of quitting thinking that it wasn't going to work out and it was draining. But there's also part of me who didn't take a lot to help me keep on going. I just say I don't know if I would have quit, but honestly, I don't know if I had an end date, which was October. This was my first come to Jesus moment, was today, actually. If I wanted to continue this venture, I was going to think about it today. I gave myself until October. And I didn't need to. Plus, honestly, after the 5th meeting, I probably would have continued through November. But we made it. But now it's time to still create that container and help set this club to a point where it's self-sustaining, where it doesn't need me, where it's not my club, where it doesn't feel like my club. It still kind of feels like my club, at least to me. I don't know if it means that to other people, but right now I'm the face of the club, and I'm the only person who posts live on our Facebook group. I bring the most people. I am the one doing most of the marketing. I'm the one who's doing a lot. And that's fine. All the other people are still doing well. Donna's people are helping. People are pushing through. Basically, what I want to say is that I am very happy about this. I feel like I've grown because of it. I've grown energetically. I've grown emotionally. And I've learned more about marketing and have more experience of marketing because of this. Learning how to sell to an audience. Learning how to market to the right people. Learning on doing what works and doing what doesn't work. Working on letting go of expectations and moving forward. Learning about just having a good time and enjoying. Learning about delegating and allowing someone else to support me. I don't like asking for help. In fact, I hate asking for help. But asking Toastmasters to speak is easy because they love doing it. And they all were grateful for helping me, and I'm grateful for them. And I'm grateful. I'm very happy about this venture. I'm very happy. I don't know how I want to end this, as I feel like I'm rambling at this moment. But I've learned a lot. And if you ever thought of doing Toastmasters, I just want to tell you that I have grown a lot as a person because of it. Toastmasters is a wonderful organization that showed me that I can be a leader and that I enjoy leadership. I never wanted to be a leader. I became a computer science major so that I did not have to lead people. I didn't have to talk to people. Yes, I was a high school captain of wrestling. They're such a supportive people, and everyone's there to support each other. And there's people there and it's also different walks of life and different just groups of people I wouldn't talk to. People who we just wouldn't get along, but we have to do these meetings together, and it's fun. That's the thing that surprised me most about Toastmasters, is I have a good time learning. I have a good time growing. As I said, I did not want to be a leader. But because of Toastmasters taking up officer opportunities, not just being an officer, but also becoming a mentor. Once I became an experienced, good Toastmaster who's been a Toastmaster for 4, 5, 6 years, people start looking to me for advice and being able to help them and support them and evaluate, and just being a part of it has helped me so much. The more I give to Toastmasters, the more I receive. And isn't that the entire thing? I mean, if you think of your entrepreneurial life as service, the more you give to it, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And if we all served each other, what a wonderful world would we be in. So if you want more information about Toastmasters, go to www.toastmasters.org. There's a Find a Club feature, and find a club near you. I highly suggest visiting 2 or 3 or 4 clubs that meet the time and space that works for you, because each club has its own, culture. Each club has its own culture. Each club is different. The Lightworker Toastmasters is different than Kirkland Eclectics, and it's different than Bowers Speakeasies, which is another club I belong to. It was different than Real Toastmasters at Real Networks. They all just have a different feel, so finding the right club for you is important. But again, I highly suggest joining Toastmasters. I highly suggest it. Learn from your successes. Too many times in life, we focus on our failures and say, when you fail, that's a learning opportunity. But you know what? So is when you succeed. Take some time, analyze, figure out what went right so you can do it over again. Positive action that yields positive results that are repeatable will continue to create success. So look at your life. Where have you succeeded? Write it down. Figure out what worked, your mindset, and how everything goes. Do not just focus on the negative. Remember, your successes are worth remembering. Celebrate and learn from your successes. So this is Brett Dupree at the Joyous Expansion Podcast. Brett Dupree, your host, champion of authentic joy, catalyst of transformation. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, or Toastmasters even, I love talking about. One thing about Toastmasters is we love talking about Toastmasters. Go to BRE2Ts, DUPR2Es at joyousexpansion.com. You can email me there. Go to www.joyousexpansion.com if you want more information about me. And yeah, I wish you all the light and love in the world, and play my jingle.